Hi Bookish Besties, my name is Brittany. This is Rescues and Reads. Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you are new, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And if you're already subscribed, as always, I appreciate your continued support. Thank you for returning to another video. Today we're here to wrap up my 2024 goals and talk about some goals that I have for my reading and my channel in 2025. Hello everyone and welcome to another Bookmas video. It is already that time of the month where we are going to talk about goals. Namely, I'm going to wrap up how I did with my goals in 2024 and talk about some of the goals that I have for 2025. So what I plan on doing is bringing up the video that I made last year where I wrapped up my 2023 goals and talked about 2024 goals and just play the 2024 goals part to see how I did with the goals. I actually haven't revisited these goals since I made that video, so we are going to see, and then we are going to talk about some of the goals that I have for 2025. I have a feeling that once again, my goals for 2025 are going to be somewhat similar to the goals that I had in 2024, but we are going to see. I feel like my goals are a little bit less defined for 2025, but I definitely have a few things that I want to accomplish or at least keep in mind. So let's go ahead and pull up that goal video from last year and see how I did. Jumping into 2024, a lot of my goals are very similar. In fact, I don't really have very many at all. The first, of course, is going to be my Goodreads goal. Now, you might be thinking that because I completely smashed my Goodreads goal that I would increase it in 2024, and I don't know if I'm going to. For the past couple of years, I have gone into a major reading slump roughly around the same time. It roughly starts in February or March, and it lasts about 3 months. And during that time, I pretty much ghost books and the online bookish community. I don't read anything. I don't post anything. I don't do anything related to books whatsoever. So basically, everything falls apart when I'm in this huge reading slump. And luckily for some reason, it didn't happen to me this year. It happened in 2020, 2021, and 2022, but it did not happen to me in 2023. That's what I attribute to being able to read so many books, because I had an additional 3 months of reading, but I have no way of knowing whether that's going to happen. And my reading will likely take a back burner to other things like my grad course, because it's just probably going to get more and more intense, and it's already pretty intense. And so if I'm overwhelmed, I can't really concentrate on a story. And so every now and then I might just take a break from reading, even if I'm not in a slump. And so I'm trying to factor all of this stuff in. So I may not leave it at 100, but I'm certainly not going to put it at 150. I might split the difference. Maybe I'll put it at 120, 125. Okay, so thankfully, once again, I did not really have a full-on reading slump in 2024. I definitely had pockets of reading slumps where I didn't really feel like reading, or I wasn't sure what I wanted to read, or I wasn't really enjoying the books that I picked up. But for the most part, I did not have a slump. And actually, I did what I said that I wasn't going to do and ended up eventually upping my Goodreads goal. And so at the start of 2024, I put my goal at 125. And then once I surpassed that goal and I was several books past it, I decided to go ahead and raise the goal. I raised the goal one past what I read last year. So I think that my current goal is 157, and at this point I'm still scheduled to meet that. So I definitely surpassed the original goal that I had for myself of reading 125 books. Satisfying reading challenges is also another big goal for me in 2024, because for the most part I'm only participating in 3. I'm participating in Buzzword again, Around the World in 52 Books, and the 52 Book Club's reading challenge. And that is really it. Now I am doing a reading project called Reading Like My Subscribers, and I'm going to consider that goal number 3, and that is to successfully complete that project. That video. Okay, so I talked about 2 goals here, satisfying reading challenges and then satisfying the Read Like My Subscribers project challenge. I will actually have a video going up kind of summarizing my challenge experience for 2024 and how I did. So all I'm really going to say here is that I did accomplish these goals and successfully satisfied the challenges. I'm not going to make these official goals at this point, but like I said at the beginning, I want to continue the momentum that I made in 2023 with regard to continuing series. I do still have a handful of series where I only have 1 book left to either be caught up or completed in the series, and I would really like to go ahead and get those off the list and get those done. And then I just want to continue to make progress in the series that I'm actively reading and be very intentional about the series that I start. So again, I do have another video coming out that's going to be all about my series progress for 2024. These Bookmas videos are not necessarily being filmed in the order that they are going up, so some of these videos might be up before this one. I honestly don't know, but I will be talking all about the series that I started, completed, DNF'd in the month. But I do feel like I was really successful in this, and honestly at this point I have very few in progress series remaining. And I also do want to continue with reading books as they come into me. And so because of that, I want to be even more intentional in 24 about the books that I bring in that I haven't already read. A big part of what I bring in these days are books that I've already listened to and have made the decision that I want them on my shelves. And I'm trying to make sure that any books that come into my home that I have not read yet are books that I actively really want to read, assuming I know what they are. I obviously don't know what Fairy Loot's going to be, but you get the drift. You get what I'm saying. Because I don't want my Okay, yet another video that I do plan on making, talking about my book buying in 2024, what I've hauled, and if I'm reading the books that I've hauled. But once again, I do believe that I was successful with this goal. And then again, I think the final goals that I want to make for myself in 2024 really are channel related. One, I definitely want to maintain the posting consistency. I want to post at least twice a week. I do think that I want to get back into reading vlogs, probably not weekly, but bi-weekly. I definitely also want to continue with sprints. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do them always on a weekly basis, but certainly every other week for sure. It just kind of depends on what is going on. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop it really quick just because I did talk about 3 goals there. So the first was to maintain posting consistency. And for the most part, I was very, very successful with that. Posting on Sundays and Wednesdays every single week. It was something that I was, for the most part, easily able to maintain. I fell off the wagon a little bit closer to the end of this year just because of how crazy everything has been with my job and all of the other things going on. So there have been weeks when I have not had 2 videos posted. I think it's happened like 3 or 4 times now. And then during November, I went about a week and a half without posting just because I was preparing for Bookmas and I was gone to Houston for the Ren Festival and I wasn't able to film and edit everything. So ultimately, I feel like I was really successful with my goal of maintaining that posting schedule. Just life things got in the way, but it only got in the way during this like concentrated period of time. It wasn't all throughout the year or anything like that. For the vast majority of the year, I was able to successfully maintain that posting schedule. In terms of reading vlogs, so I did for the first part of the year, I was doing reading vlogs. I think I was doing weekly and bi-weekly reading vlogs, just kind of depending on my schedule and what I was able to do. As much as I really love watching reading vlogs, they are some of my favorite content to consume. And I even enjoy making reading vlogs. I don't enjoy editing reading vlogs because it is so time consuming and tedious because you're having to compile all of these clips. But I do enjoy the finished product of vlogs. So ultimately, I love watching reading vlogs. I love creating reading vlogs. The problem is, in full transparency, is that anytime I post a reading vlog, it is probably one of the least viewed videos on my channel. So because of the time and effort it takes to do a reading vlog, the views that I'm receiving on those reading vlogs are not matching the effort that I'm putting into it. You know what I mean? It's not a balanced situation, and I cannot justify spending all of the time and energy on creating a reading vlog if I don't think that anybody is going to watch it. So going forward, I do plan on still doing reading vlogs. Like I did that reading vlog for the collaboration with Sarah. There's going to be another one of those coming up. I do plan on doing weekly reading vlogs for the month of December as part of my Bookmas content. So vlogs are not disappearing from my channel. I want to put a lot of my time and energy into things that I want to be creating, like vlogs, but I also want to make sure that there are things that you are interested in watching as well. And so until it gets to the point where I think more people are actually interested in those reading vlogs, I don't think that I'm going to be creating them, unfortunately. And then sprints, unfortunately, I did not meet this goal. It became quickly apparent within the year that I was not going to be able to host sprints on a regular basis, especially right around the August time when things very much blew up for me at my job. And I don't feel like since that time I've had a moment to breathe. So at this time, sprints are not something that I can commit to. I am committing to one Patreon exclusive live sprint during the month and then several Discord sprints during the month. Those are what I'm going to be able to commit to, but actual public sprints going forward, unfortunately, I just don't think I'm going to be able to do those with any kind of regularity. I want to increase engagement. I feel like if I continue to post consistently and post thoughtful content, like I try to make my content as well researched and thoughtful as possible. I try not to make throwaway content. I try to make content that I would want to watch, that I think you might want to watch, and that could be informative, useful, or entertaining for you. I hope to bring the same type of quality content in 2024, and I'm hoping that by doing that, I will naturally grow and get more engagement from y'all, because that's why I'm here, because I'm here to build a community of fellow book lovers. That's why I joined. So those are the goals related to my channel. Okay, and then the last goal related to my channel was just to increase engagement, and I absolutely feel like I did that in multiple ways in 2024. There were definitely some events that I took part of in 2024 that absolutely helped increase my engagement and grow my channel, and I do expect that to continue into 2025. So I do feel like every single year the engagement on my channel is getting bigger, and I could not be happier with that. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some of my official goals for 2025. Some of them are very similar to what I had for 2024. These are in no particular order. They are just in the order that I wrote them down in. I believe I have 9 here that I want to talk to you about. First, of course, as always, starting with the Goodreads goal. Now, in 2023, I read 156 books. In 2024, I decided to lower that goal to 125, and then I easily surpassed it without even trying, and now it is at 157, which I do believe that I'm going to hit. But once again, I really do not feel like committing myself to a higher number. And the reason is, one of my big themes of 2025 is going to be intention. And so I'll just go ahead and kind of talk about that goal here as well. I want to read everything everything with intention. Whether I'm picking it up because it is a highly anticipated read and it's something I'm incredibly excited for, whether it's something that I'm doing for a specific purpose, like a reading project, I want to carefully curate the books that I'm reading for that project. So maybe they're books that I wouldn't normally want to pick up or read, but I want to make sure that if I am picking them up, I'm picking them up with a very specific reason in mind. And similarly, I want to make sure that I'm also pushing myself out of my comfort zone intentionally, not just reading recommendations that I wouldn't already have picked up on my own, but intentionally looking at books that are interesting to me, but maybe I haven't picked up because they are outside of my comfort zone or because I know that I'm not frequently in the mood to read them. So intention with regard to my reading is going to be a big part of 2025. It is going to be a big goal of mine. And so because of that, I also want to have intention with how fast I'm reading. I really want to make sure that I'm allowing myself the time to read or listen to the books and fully absorb them and take them in. I want to read the books for quality rather than quantity, but it really gets to me if I'm spending more than a couple of days on a book. Like, I really want to bust through the books and get through the stories, you know what I mean? So I really want to, if necessary, to slow down. Now, I'm not going to make myself do that if I don't feel like doing that or don't want to do that. I just want to make sure that I'm not rushing all the time through the books. That is why I once again don't think that I'm going to set my goal at 156, 157, 158. I think I might go ahead and keep my goal at around 125 and maybe intentionally try to keep my reading lower. We're going to see, but I just want to make sure that the books that I'm reading are done with intention. Another goal of mine is just with regard to my Patreon. I took a big leap this year by deciding to start a Patreon. As I mentioned in my Patreon announcement video, that was something that I hemmed and hawed about for quite a while. I had to overcome a lot of imposter syndrome in order to make that video, and it's something that I'm still really nervous about. I'm nervous about my ability to keep up with the Patreon, and so that's my goal. I want to keep up with the Patreon. I want to focus on the Patreon and put a lot of time and attention into it. I want it to be a main priority. I want to be incredibly active in the Discord, and so building that community is one of the main goals of the Patreon, but also having your input and your influence, because there are some times when I'm stuck. Like, I need feedback. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to getting to know everybody who joins the Patreon. I'm looking forward to getting their thoughts and feedback. I'm looking forward to getting their book suggestions, their video suggestions, their Patreon suggestions, just everything in general. I'm looking forward to that feedback. So my goal in 2025 is Patreon. That's just what I have written here. Patreon, to be active and present and to make the Patreon worth it for everybody who decides to join. I would of course like to increase the growth on my channel. The very top end goal for 2025 would be to hit 4,000, but the one that I kind of expect to meet is 3,500. Similarly to 2024, I do want to complete all of the challenges that I'm doing. I'm doing the same 3-year-long reading challenges. I'm doing the Buzzword Challenge hosted by Books and Lala. I am doing the 52 Book Clubs reading challenge. I'm also going to be doing Around the Year in 52 Books. I do think that I'm also going to be participating in the 25 and 25 challenge that Brianna from For a Positive Book created this year. It's like a bingo board. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to be playing the bingo, but I will probably take all the challenges and put it in my reading spreadsheet along with the other challenges. Of course, I can double up as many times as I want. I could use one book for all 4 challenges if I feel like it. So being successful at those challenges is also going to be important to me. Also similar to 2024, I do very much want to read every single book that I haul. Kind of on top of that, my goal once again is to be very intentional with my book buying. And you know, that's something that I've been very much working on over the past couple of years. That is not new, being very intentional and not impulsive with regard to my book buying. And I think that I am going to be able to maintain and sustain that. And that is going to have to be the case, especially if I'm trying to read every book that I personally haul and pay for, or any books that are gifted to me or anything like that, because I do not want them sitting on my shelves. I do not want them stagnating. So again, be very intentional about the books that I haul and then trying to read all of the books that I haul. Sorry for any kind of angle change or anything like that. My memory card ran out of room and I had to go ahead and clear some things from it. But we're almost done with the goals for 2025. Now, these next 2, they definitely fall under the intentional reading goal that I'm setting for myself for 2025, but I do have them separate just because they are important to me and I kind of want to be able to focus on them individually. So first, another intentional goal that I have for 2025 is to intentionally and conscientiously read more diversely. So I am 100% somebody who picks up a book purely because I think that I'm going to enjoy it. So based off of the genre and the synopsis and everything like that, when I'm picking up a book, I'm not picking it up just because it is diverse, if that makes any sense. So if I'm picking up a book from a BIPOC author or a queer author, or a book that has BIPOC or queer representation or disability representation or anything like that, I love to see that representation, but I am not picking up a book purely because it has that representation, if that makes sense. So my plan for 2025 is to be more intentional about that, to actively pick up a book because it is diverse. Now, obviously, when I read the synopsis of it, I do want to make sure that it is something that I could potentially enjoy, but I want to be more willing to pick up something that might be a little bit outside of my comfort zone simply because because it is diverse, if that makes sense. So that also goes along with pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So I would very much love to hear your recommendations for diverse reads that you think that I would very much enjoy. And also, I would like to read more chunky fantasies. I have definitely realized when it comes to my taste in fantasy books that I am primarily interested in fantasy series. I'm not interested in fantasy standalones. And the more intricate and complex the fantasy is, the more I'm likely to enjoy it. Those are the ones that I can dive most deeply into. Those are the ones that I can get more invested in. I've mentioned this several times on my channel, but I prefer to read fantasies immersively where I'm reading it with my eyeballs and I'm listening to it. But because of limited time and attention, I have very limited opportunities to actually physically read any book. And so I'm only reading a handful of fantasies a year. And I don't necessarily anticipate that being able to change. Typically, I'm only reading these books like on my lunch break at work. And if work is crazy, I'm not even taking a lunch. I'm working straight through lunch. So I could be in the middle of a fantasy book and it could take me months to get through it, even if it's not on the longer side, just because of how insane work is and my inability to just sit down and be calm. I have to be relaxed in order to sit down and read. I cannot sit down to read in order to relax, if that makes sense. So if there's any kind of stress, if there's any kind of chaos, if there's anything in my brain that I know that I have to be doing, those are the things that are going to be my priorities. I'm not going to prioritize sitting down and reading, especially if I have an audiobook going and I can just listen to an audiobook while I go about my business. And so unfortunately, fantasies get pushed to the side and I very much want to read them. So I really want to take the time with these series. I want to go ahead and get invested in them. And I really do want to be intentional with that in 2025. And I want to try to have a chunky fantasy going at all times. Ideally, I would like to read one every single month. I don't think that's going to be possible, especially with a book in the Stormlight archives. But ideally, I would like to always have a chunky fantasy going. And I would like to keep up that momentum so that I can continue these series and I can discover new series that I think that I'm going to love. So that is another big intention that I have in 2025, is just to prioritize fantasies more. I know that I'm never going to be able to read a huge number of fantasies a year, but I do actively want to try to have one on the go at all times. And I would love to be able to read, if not one a month, I would like to read 9 or 10 during the year, if at all possible. All right, everyone, that is it. That is a recap of how I did with my 2024 goals and all of the goals that I have going into 2025. As per usual, to nobody's surprise, this turned into quite a rambly video, so it took a little bit longer than I was expecting it to, but again, nobody is surprised by that at all. Please comment down below and let me know some of the goals that you have set for your reading year in 2025, or even just goals in general that you have set for your life in 2025. I would love to know. Or if you've made it to the end of this video and you are not feeling chatty, go ahead and leave me like a checkmark emoji in honor of satisfying the goals that we set for ourselves. And as always, if you like this video, or if you just like me, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Throughout the month of December, from the 1st through the 25th, I aim to post one video a day leading up to Christmas. And if you don't want to miss any of that content or chaos, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I would love to connect with you in any of those future videos or on any of my other social media platforms, which you can always find linked down below, along with any books that I may feature in a video. Until next time, y'all. Bye.